Imagine you come across someone who has been so brutally tortured that you can hardly recognize them, leaving you to question if these actions are truly human. Alan carries a heavy burden in silence but discovers this person, discarded like garbage, in desperate need of help. An elf waits, wishing for God to end her suffering, but fate has other plans for her. The story begins with a kind soul placing a band-aid on a child's scraped knee, soothingly assuring the child that everything will be okay. The child's face lights up with gratitude as they thank the man. He advises the child to be careful during their next playtime. Now, we meet our main character, Mr. Apothecary. He isn't there for any treatments or anything. Rather, he was looking for ingredients for his medicine, and someone spots him and calls out. He is the owner of the pawn shop, who inquires about Mr. Apothecary's business and why he was stopped. Without giving a clear answer, the man called over the apothecary and led him to a room, constantly telling the apothecary that he might want to check this out. The pawn shop owner reveals that someone important to him has left him with a troubling issue, and he feels completely lost on how to handle it. He expresses this concern with a worried look on his face. As soon as he opened the door to another room, the apothecary's eyes grew wide at the sight of something so horrific that it left him speechless and pleading for mercy inside. A girl lay there, nearly lifeless, empty, and hollow. Her elfish ear piercings were numerous. Her eyes had lost their brightness, and the natural instinct to close them was gone. The scars and bruises on her body were so severe that they suggested a long history of brutal torture that could have gone on for decades. The pawn owner, speaking calmly, informed the man that this elf had been used until she was completely exhausted and then thrown away. The apothecary stood frozen, while the other man attempted to persuade him that this elf's body could be utilized to create several high-quality medicines and remedies. He pointed a finger at him, urging him to make a decision about her. The apothecary moved closer to the elf and channeled magic into his index finger to check her condition. The gangrene was still spreading, and her fingers felt soft as well. During the torture, all her fingernails had been torn off. The whip and slash marks on her body had left terrible scars. All her teeth had been extracted except for a few at the back for chewing food, and she was missing her left eye. Her eyes had lost their ability to respond. While contemplating her state and who could have inflicted such harm, he asked if she could hear him, and her ear began to tremble slightly. It was clear that she could hear him a little, even with the big holes in her ears. But the real issue wasn't just the wounds and scars on the outside. It was what was happening inside her body. He realized there had to be serious damage to her organs, and if he didn't help her soon, she might die. As he spoke in a weak and hopeless tone, she whispered, "I want to go home," with a single tear rolling down her cheek. In frustration, the man punched the ground, remembering how many times she had to plead for this wish, only to be tortured moments later. Her cries must have gone unheard, and she must have been repeating this forever. The pawn shop owner kept trying to sell the girl, boasting that he could get less for her than a cow or even a horse. "If you don't want her, I can sell her to someone else." The owner kept pushing, and with a loud shout, he declared that he would take her. He asked the owner for a backpack to carry her. "You're going to walk across the bloody mountain with an almost dead elf you don't even know?" Without responding, the man covered her head with a cloth and gently assured her that he wouldn't hurt her. The girl was unresponsive and silent in this moment. He continued to tighten the cloth and dressed her, but she didn't make a sound or move. It appeared that she had grown far too used to being treated like an object, resulting in no resistance at all. He lifted her onto his back and began the long journey home. He attempted to engage her in conversation, but she did not respond. As they walked, he caught her mumbling something, and while he continued to climbing the mountain, he thought about how night would soon fall. He decided to make this spot their resting place at the mountain's peak. He approached her slowly and informed her that he would be removing the cloth, but she continued to mumble about home. He set down his bag and told her he would prepare some food. Yet, the girl seemed lost in the gentle breeze, and as the bright golden sunlight illuminated her face, Alan the apothecary noticed that her expression had slightly brightened since they had left the city. Perhaps it was because the elves had always lived in forests since ancient times. While Alan prepared the food, he ensured it was soft and thin enough for her to eat, considering all her teeth had been removed. This was crucial. The girl sniffed in surprise, curious about the pleasant aroma nearby. Alan carefully filled a spoon halfway with food and gently brought it to her mouth, advising her to take it slow. As she opened her mouth to eat, she managed to chew it well, which surprised him. He continued to feed her small bites and asked if she liked it. After she finished eating, Alan wiped her face, and a tear rolled down her cheek. However, as night fell, her condition deteriorated. She began to breathe heavily and groaned in pain, lying there drenched in sweat. Alan worked hard to figure out what was wrong, but it seemed the infection in her arm was spreading quickly and could soon affect her organs. He hurried to create something that could serve as symptomatic treatment. He chose to crush something that had antibacterial and antipyretic qualities. He combined the brew with elderflower and wild borage. He also added a smashed magic stone along with honey and salt to make it easier to take. While lifting her, he encouraged her not to lose hope, no matter how tough things seemed at that moment, and he kept wishing for the medicine to be effective. As she drank it, she lay down and relaxed a little, weakly muttering, "Where?" When he placed the cloth on her forehead, Alan instantly grasped what she was asking, and while stroking her head, he reassured her that they would definitely be able to return home soon. He gently patted her head and told her it was all right to rest now. She closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Alan pondered the words he had spoken to her and realized that everything he said felt irresponsible. He genuinely wanted to help her get back, but her current state was likely a result of his kindness. It had been 8 years since all 5 races had coexisted peacefully after the war. Alan reflected that he viewed these races as special individuals. However, many people disagreed, and individuals like the pawn shop owner were everywhere, looking down on others. Even worse, they failed to see the different races as human beings. While he was lost in these thoughts, suddenly hands emerged from the ground and began to grasp at his legs. Alan stared at them with a blank expression, glaring at his hands, which represented all the lives he had taken, now haunting him for eternity. As he slowly opened his eyes, he realized the sun was already up and muttered about a dream. As he gazed at the girl, her eyes were wide open, and a tiny spark flickered in her pupil. Alan smiled gently and greeted her, letting her know he would be picking her up. Although Alan was uncertain about how he could help, he wanted to fulfill her wish to go home. What he could do was care for her so she could return to her former self. However, he knew this would require a lot of time and effort. Alan clenched his fist and looked at the girl, telling her that she was deeply hurt and that the pain affected not just her body but her heart as well. "I don't know what kind of person you were," taking her hand and adding, "I will give you a name filled with hope. Resser, as this name suggests, I will ensure you heal no matter what, and you will be reborn. I promise." As her eyes remained unchanged, Alan prepared some food and continued their sweet little chat while Resser stared at him in complete disbelief, not saying a word. After a long and tough journey, they finally arrived at their destination. Alan gently says, "This will be your new home where you will live." Inside, he carefully removed the cloth and helped her sit on a sofa. With a weak, sad, yet hopeful voice, Resser whispered, "Home." Immediately, Alan told her that she needed to take a bath first. Noticing her frail, almost bare body, he realized she had no clothes of her own. Hurrying out and knocking on a nearby door, Alan explained that he had an urgent request. The door creaked open, revealing a small, cute child who cheerfully said, "It's the apothecary uncle." In a demanding tone, Moan asked Alan if he had brought the sweets he promised. Apologizing, Alan heard Moan's mother scolding her from behind. Her mother, a tall and attractive woman, apologized for her daughter's spoiled behavior, adding that he must be tired. Alan interrupted her, handing her a basket filled with edibles. Moan's mother found it unusual for him to ask for favors. It turned out Alan was requesting some clean clothes for Resser. However, Moan's mother provided him with some older garments that would be easy to mend if they tore. Alan lowered his head and thanked her for the help. He prepared a hot bath for Resser. Steam rose from the chimney as the bathroom tap filled the tub with desirably warm and refreshing water. Alan carefully removed all the tattered and old clothes, covering her with a piece of fabric to maintain her dignity and avoid startling her. He noticed that as he undressed her, she showed no reaction, sitting there completely emotionless and sorrowful. When Alan saw her back, her slender white figure was completely marred from top to bottom. Each area of her body bore long and brutal scars from whips left untreated, causing her body to heal them imperfectly, resulting in deep ingrained marks. This sight broke him down from the inside. As he gently washed her, he trembled, reflecting on how the scars seemed imbued with malice and evil intent. On her neck were finger-shaped imprints indicating extreme force, most likely from choking. These details ignited Alan's anger, and he questioned who could have been so cruel and merciless. As he carefully removed the bandage from her infected arm, he barely managed to remain calm and composed. Regaining his composure, he began to treat her wounds one by one. Since external wounds were highly dangerous if left unattended for a prolonged period, he applied herb-based ointments to the scars, covering them with Korea's medicine to accelerate the healing process. He also placed pieces of cloth soaked in a viscous fluid on the deeper scars. This treatment needed to be repeated every 3 days. As he gently held her and helped her stand, he decided to dress her properly. He noticed a woman's comb mixed with the clothes, realizing that Moon's mother had likely understood his situation. As he dressed her and arranged her hair, a gentle, calm, and beautiful person emerged, hinting at how she might have looked in the past. Alan reflected on the significant change. As he let out a soft sigh of relief, he remembered that the food was ready, after which he desperately needed sleep. While dressing her, he noticed she was shaking slightly too aggressively, her expression embarrassed. Panicked, Alan asked if she had a fever or if any part of her body hurt, but he realized she must need to use the toilet. He dashed, holding her in his arms, finding it interesting that she had shown no expression or emotion while getting undressed, but felt embarrassed about this. Such an attitude seemed almost noble. As he slowly fed her, he concluded that her psychological sensitivity was still intact. Perhaps regularly eating something delicious could aid in opening her heart. This meant he needed to find a solution for her missing teeth. This could help her greatly, but a major problem still lingered: her internal damage. If there was no improvement, amputation was the only viable solution. He briefly considered asking for help from a doctor he knew. Later, he carried her to her room and gently placed her down. With a dozing expression and sleepy eyes, she fell asleep quickly, as if she had finally found peace after the battles she had endured. Alan prayed that there must be something that could heal all her suffering, internal damage, scars, pain, infection, and more. Only a high-end healing potion could achieve that, possessing regenerative capabilities far surpassing anything else. As he thought of all this, he slowly closed his eyes, wondering if elves truly possessed a mythical potion or not. In the morning, Alan fed a crow some beans and tied a letter to its back. As the bird took off with the important message, Alan told Resser to hold on tight because he would be in the field. Alan wasn't just an apothecary. He also grew many of his own ingredients, which saved him a lot of effort and resources since he lived in a remote area. While he worked in his field, a soft breeze made the atmosphere feel refreshing, and Resser caught the fresh scent of the trees and the forest. Tears filled her eyes as she cried silently, missing her home. Alan continued his work, aware of her quiet sobs for the home she lost. Later, Moon sneaked up on Alan, calling him Oja-san as she opened the door wearing a bag and casual clothes. When Alan greeted Mon, she looked around excitedly. It turned out she wasn't there for Alan but to see his new patient he had been treating. With a curious tone, Mon asked if she could talk to Resser, and Alan agreed, thinking it was important for Resser to interact with others. As Mon sat next to Resser, Alan was busy researching something else related to his earlier thoughts about food and teeth. He had decided to make her a pair of dentures using old texts and studies. While he was focused on the idea of carving tusks to create the teeth, Mon called out to Alan, asking why Resser didn't talk. With a thoughtful look, he told Mon that maybe she was still trying to find a reason to speak. Even though Mon was just a child, hearing this sparked a strange idea in her mind, and with a big smile, she left Alan's place. After a while, Mon shouted for Alan to look. When he turned to see, he noticed Resser looking completely different with a crown on her head, looking pretty and modest. Alan smiled gently and told Mon, "You are very talented, and it looks very beautiful." Mon's response took Alan by surprise when she said, "Resser will be your bride, right?" In a panic, he waved his hands to dismiss the idea and insisted that he was only there to treat her, nothing else. With a teasing smile, she walked away cheerfully. Alan thought about how these moments were really important for Resser in the long run and could help her heal mentally. As he continued with her regular checkup, he started by refreshing her eyes with eye drops, changing the slim fluid-based cloth to help with scar healing, and keeping an eye on her heartbeat, which was sometimes weak. He created a perfect set of teeth for her, a replica of the ones that had been removed. As he began to put them in after the surgery, he encouraged Resser to try her new teeth. Smiling behind his mask, He added, "Today we will celebrate your new teeth." After a while, one of the livestock farmers came to Alan's place and gave him a large piece of meat, probably more than he had ordered. As he cooked it, the sizzling sound and delicious aroma made it even more appealing. He had also marinated it with the tender part of a liquor and made fine cuts to make it easier to chew. Alan picked up a piece of steak and offered it to Resser. When she took a bite, drool spilled from her mouth and her ears twitched. With a big grin, Alan kept feeding her more bite-sized pieces of steak, and as she sniffed, she ate without stopping. Tears streamed down her face continuously. It looked like this was something she would treasure for the rest of her life. Alan smiled and continued to feed her. From that day on, there were slight changes in her sensitivity level, which was probably a good sign. Soon, she might be able to show other emotions or even talk. Her appetite also showed positive changes. Suddenly, he noticed Resser coughing up blood and collapsing to the ground with a loud thud. Her face showed signs of being close to death. He hurried to pick her up to figure out what was going on, only to see some strange patterns. Her chest was turning red. She was experiencing severe spasms that made it hard for her to breathe, and her eyes had become bloodshot. This was not a normal situation. Instead, it was a neurotoxin from the obsidian spider. Their venom was incredibly potent and had been used for assassinations since ancient times. As she groaned in extreme pain and spasms, he realized it was linked to her past and that she might have been poisoned by her master. Alan shouted as he began to prepare a medicine. He created a temporary solution for the spasms by giving her a mixture of ground charcoal on her empty stomach to counteract the poison, making her drink it while gently tapping her back to help her expel it. Just seconds later, Resser vomited a strange dark pill. Alan picked it up to inspect it, noticing that the pill resembled a shell and had been in her stomach for some time, just now breaking down. He also saw ancient writing on it. All the text formed curse markings meant solely to kill her slowly and painfully. As Alan crushed the cursed pill, he felt a wave of anger and rage swell inside him. The torturers had used methods so cruel that they were beyond imagination, ensuring she would die elsewhere so that no blame would fall on them. Later, Alan asked Moan's mother to come and check on Resser. Moan cried as her best friend fell gravely ill. Alan prepared himself and told both of them to keep an eye on her. He was going to gather the monster's venom to create an antidote as fast as he could. They promised him that they would look after her. Alan mentioned that he would be gone for over 3 days and had prepared instructions to assist her during the time when the poison began to spread and take a serious toll. With a shaky voice, he gathered his courage and told them that if her condition deteriorated significantly while he was away, they should please arrange for a proper funeral and burial, as he wouldn't be able to manage it all alone. As she grabbed the list and instructions, she noticed that Alan's face was filled with pain. To lift his spirits, she playfully slapped his arm and assured him that she would do her part, and he needed to focus on creating the antidote in time so Resser wouldn't suffer any longer. She also promised to hold on to her own life. "Leave this part to us." As Alan prepared himself, he told Resser to wait for him and that he would return soon with the cure. To create the perfect antidote, he needed to gather several items. First, the mandragora root, which looked like a ginseng root, elemental converting mama quartz precious stones, and finally, a sample of the original toxin, since the only way to extract it was by venturing into the spider's den. He concealed his bag nearby because it was too heavy for him to carry while fighting. Reflecting on his old skills, he checked the durability of a long bow, noting that holding a bow still felt very strange to him. As he walked alone through the dark, empty cave, a faint light glowed from his index finger, guiding him toward a complex web structure where mice were ensnared. Suddenly, Alan's eyes widened as he spotted the spider itself. He loaded the bow and aimed it directly, the massive scaled body of the spider and its eerie eyes coming into focus. Just as he was about to release the arrow, a sudden thought broke his concentration. He remembered that while he could easily eliminate the spider using his power, it was the same ability he had wielded to take down countless others before he became an apothecary. Trembling, he released the string, and the arrow missed any critical area, merely glancing off the spider's carapace. After much thought, he remembered the reason he was fighting. Even though his skills had dulled, he had to push himself to stay sharp for Resser's benefit. As he continued to draw and charge his arrow, he executed his signature move, Aruma, causing a magic spell to manifest at the arrow's tip. Lightning enveloped the projectile, striking directly at the center of the spider's head. He followed up with a series of precise shots, taking down the large spider without any significant struggle that could have endangered him. Once Alan finally obtained the gland that produced the venom, he looked resolute and murmured, "Just hold on a little longer." Resser. He meticulously prepared the antidote for her using all the ingredients he had gathered. After filling a tooth-shaped syringe, he apologized to Resser for the wait. Soon, everything would be alright as he injected the counteragent for the poison. That night, Resser's condition showed slight improvement, and as he kept an eye on her, her breathing was noticeably better than before. With a sense of relief, Alan was confident that the antidote had been effective. Taking her hand, he reassured her, "The worst is over, and you will be just fine," comforting both her and himself. Resser had only known darkness in her life, always surrounded by dark roots that kept her down. She would gaze up at the sky, searching for any glimmer of hope or a savior. But it seemed she had been waiting for something like that for ages, and now she felt numb. However, as she noticed a hand reaching out to her name, the hand grew larger, ready to embrace everything she was enduring, and her eye captured every tiny detail of it. As she opened her eyes, she was surprised to find that her vision had returned. With a faint voice, she whispered, "Light." This surprised Alan too. As he tried to ask her questions, unsure of what to say, she started to cry. When she heard Alan's kind greeting and words, he inquired if she could see clearly, but she responded, "I can sense that you are there." It appeared that while her eyes could perceive light, they were gradually healing. With a grateful look, Alan felt relieved and lifted her to examine her more closely. The movement in her muscles had improved a little. The fever and redness on her chest had disappeared as well. The effects of the poison had faded. Finally, her pupils showed some signs of reaction. While he thought about the various ingredients that might have helped her, he was surprised to see Resser getting emotional. He asked if she was in pain or if something was wrong. She replied, "Resser is my name," he said. "Actually, I didn't know your name. I gave you one. If you don't like it, what should I call you?" As she tried to remember her name, she weakly told him, "I don't remember anything." Alan was certain this was retrograde amnesia. She had lost all her memories. But the real issue now was how they would find the elves' home. They were very well concealed, and no one really knew how to reach them. While he thought about this, Resser said, "Thank you for everything you have done for me." As he reflected and realized he might have been a bit too negative, he assured her that from now on, he would ensure she was completely healed and healthy. With a calm yet lovely smile, she acknowledged that this was the new chapter of her life.